of June, an accredited U.S. diplomat who identified himself in accordance with embassy protocols entering the American embassy compound was attacked by a Russian policeman. The action was unprovoked, and it endangered the safety of our employee.
Moscow expelled 2 U.S. diplomats as a retaliatory move after Washington turfed out the Russian officials. The Russian Foreign Ministry claimed the 2 U.S. diplomats were CIA agents. The ministry said one of them was involved in a brawl with a policeman in Moscow. He refused to provide identification documents and hit the guard in the face. Moscow also defended the policeman, saying he was fulfilling his duties in defending the embassy. However, the U.S. State Department disputed those statements.
This is the incident that has sparked a major diplomatic row between Russia and the United States. A pro-government TV station in Russia, NTV, aired the video, saying it showed an American CIA officer elbowing a Russian policeman in the face in front of the US Embassy in Moscow last month. Not so, replied the Americans. An accredited US diplomat who identified himself in accordance with embassy protocols entering the American embassy compound was attacked by a Russian policeman. Russia saw it differently. A taxi arrived outside the US compound in Moscow. An unknown man in a cap pulled down over his face, jumped out of the taxi and rushed in. The US claims that Russian security services have intensified their harassment against US personnel in an effort to disrupt our diplomatic and consular operation. But Russia insisted that it's known that this diplomat is in fact a CIA officer. In June, Washington retaliated by expelling 2 Russian embassy staff from the United States. Then on Saturday, Moscow expelled 2 American diplomats it said were both CIA officers.
NATO leaders agreed on Friday to deploy military forces to the Baltic states and eastern Poland for the first time, and to increase sea and air patrols in order to reassure allies who were once part of the Soviet bloc. However, the group expressed their willingness to pursue a dialogue with Moscow, despite its 2014 annexation of Crimea and its support for Russian-speaking rebels in eastern Ukraine. Ukraine is not a member of NATO, but its president will meet allied leaders on Saturday, where he may face pressure to fulfill Kiev's part of the agreement by accepting more decentralization and local elections in the rebel-held areas of the eastern Donbass region. Russian warplanes have been buzzing Western civilian and military aircraft and switching off their identification signals as part of an apparent campaign of intimidation in response to Western economic sanctions over its action in Ukraine. Earlier in the day, NATO and the EU signed an agreement to increase their military and security cooperation and said they stand united in their positions on Russia.
Said that ISIL militants have shot down a helicopter, killing 2 Russian military instructor pilots. RT's correspondent Murad Gazdiev joins me in the studio, and I know you've got a few more details then on this breaking story. What can you tell us at this early stage?
Well, from what we know, those 2 Russian pilots, instructors as well, they were testing a Russian helicopter, Russian-made helicopter, that was handed over to the Syrians, a Mi-25 built on the Mi-24 Hind, an iconic helicopter. But they were in the vicinity of Palmyra when they got a distress call from the Syrian military saying that ISIS fighters had broken through their lines of defense and they had nothing to stop them with. They were going to take heights, they were going to take hilltops from which it would be much more difficult to dislodge them. And they asked these 2 pilots, this helicopter, to help as it could. It was fully loaded, and it did. It helped. It beat back the ISIS attack. It stopped the attack. Unfortunately, once it had used up all of its ammunition, from what we're told, on its way back, returning from this mission, it was shot down and brought down by ISIS fighters.
According to an audio message posted online, the son of slain al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden has threatened revenge against the United States for assassinating his father. Hamza bin Laden promised to continue the global militant group's fight against the United States and its allies in the 21-minute speech entitled, "We Are All Osama," according to the SITE intelligence group. Hamza said, quote, "We will continue striking you and targeting you in your country and abroad in response to your oppression of the people of Palestine, Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Somalia, and the rest of the Muslim lands that did not survive your oppression. As for the revenge by the Islamic Nation for Sheikh Osama, may Allah have mercy on him. It is not revenge for Osama the person, but it is revenge for those who defended Islam." End quote.
Nature pounding China's coastal province of Fujian. Typhoon Nepartak came ashore packing wind speeds of more than 100 kilometers an hour. The storm system brought heavy rain, triggering flooding and landslides. Authorities in China say more than 100 people have died in recent days due to extreme weather. Flooding and landslides have destroyed some 70,000 homes so far, and media reports say more than 1 million people are in need of emergency assistance. The typhoon has been downgraded to a tropical storm, but the system is still capable of producing torrential rainfall. Several provinces in the storm's path remain on high alert.
Across America, thousands took to the streets to protest against fatal police shootings of 2 black men this week. The demos come a day after 5 police officers were killed during a similar rally in Dallas. Atlanta saw the biggest crowds, with protesters calling for justice in the wake of the fatal shootings of Philando Castile and Alton Sterling. In Washington, D.C., demonstrators kicked off a weekend of action as the police chief said at least 6 rallies were planned over the next 2 days.
Teach your children to stand up for their fellow man and woman. We are all citizens together, living here together. We need to look out for each other, take care of each other.
In New Orleans, 3 different protests took place. Activists hoped it would open up a nationwide debate over race relations.
Police are on high alert this evening after shots were fired here at headquarters downtown. Here's how it all went down. San Antonio police say they got the call around 10 p.m. tonight that shots were fired at the headquarters in front of the building on Santa Rosa Street. When they got to the area, they began canvassing the scene. They found multiple shell casings. As they began investigating more, they found even more shell casings in an alleyway between the Bill Millers and the old police headquarters. They also say that they found a man who was trying to flee the scene. They do have him in custody just for questioning at this time. Now, again, SAPD is on high alert tonight. They do not have a suspect in custody, but they are still investigating. Now, Chief McManus did come out to SAPD headquarters and speak to the media about this scary situation out here, and he says he wants everyone to know that this is not hunting season on SAPD, and he will not allow that to happen. We'll continue to bring you more of this story, developing story, from SAPD headquarters. Reporting from downtown, Audrey Castoreno, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.
A nation on edge. What direction will we choose? Divide or unite?
As we piece together the devastation in Dallas, we have new protests over the issues that may have led up to that tragedy.
Chants of Black Lives Matter going on right now in downtown Phoenix and the tense counter protests. ABC 15's Novita Fergani with police perspective.
But first, John Erickson live with the protesters on the ground. John.
Kim and Katie, the protests have been going on for about 2 hours now. We are at 7th Street and the I-10. As soon as authorities heard that the protesters might possibly be coming to I-10 to try to shut down the highway, these officers mobilized. They say they are not going to let that happen. Anyone who tries to get on I-10 will first get a warning. If they don't leave, they will get arrested.
Right now, so we're watching this situation, but unfortunately, we know that Air 15 only has about 10. Yep, they're going and in. Running from police here. The situation, we're not exactly sure who this guy is, possibly running toward the freeway. They said that they were going to try to block this area, but this guy, we're going to watch him get taken down there by police, and police falling over there on their bicycles as they tackle this man to the ground.
We have no idea why they were first shining the chopper shot down on him so that they could see, hold light down there so they could see, and they're trying to get him subdued at this point to try to get him into cuffs. We want this to stay peaceful, but this is such a dangerous scene that you're seeing. We don't know what they're throwing.
Can't be sure what they are throwing there.
This is at 7th Street and Roosevelt. We're just getting word from our producer back there who's able to track this.
You can see those protesters and then police there with their shields holding up, maybe perhaps trying to block whatever is being thrown at them, hurled at them by these protesters. Out on the streets, Chief Yonner just expressing that the message has been understood. The people made their message clear. He does not want it to resort to violence. We are seeing those people throwing those items at police.
Wow, an incredible scene unfolding here on the streets of Phoenix as they make their way toward the freeway, and you're seeing officers try to deal with this. Look at, okay, so now we're seeing the city traffic there that wasn't intending to be a part of any of this, but stuck in the middle of this in the streets of downtown Phoenix on a Friday night.
And what you're dealing with there is people are going out or they're coming home, possibly going out to dinner, coming home from dinner, and they are dealing with this. You can see police there trying to deal with these protesters we saw them just live there at the same moment you did as they were throwing objects at police there out on the streets.
We are African American or of African American descent, and we need to understand, we need to come together, all of us, black, white, pink, yellow, whoever you are, to make a difference and make change that needs to happen now, that needs to happen yesterday. I have a 12-year-old son. He looks older than what he is, and God forbid if anything happened to him because he was either in the wrong place or said the wrong thing at the wrong time, and he could be shot. My heart goes out to the mothers. I brought him here so he could see how passionate people are about black lives. And it's not that blue lives, white lives, pink lives, it's not that no lives matter. It's just at this moment in time, too many African American males, their lives are being taken away from them. And this has to stop.
The police are moving in as well. So there's West over here on this side, and that's happening. This side, we're coming over to this other side. And there was a firework that's being thrown at the police. Wow! Big firework just popped off. People are very upset out here. The police are surrounded